This commander deck costs only £40, is built from almost entirely bulk commons, and can draw almost half your deck in one turn. Let me show you the strongest and weirdest deck I have ever made. Ellie and Ellen Paleontologists is a 2 colourless, green, white, blue, legendary creature, human scientist. That simply reads, tap, exile a creature card from our graveyard, and then discover X, where X is the mana value of the exiled card. So, you might be thinking, how do we get the most value out of this commander on a budget? Well, with nothing less than a forgotten keyword called cycling. This keyword has plagued packs and draft chat for years, and we are about to weaponize that. So the overall game plan of this deck is actually pretty simple. We want to cycle as many cards as possible, turn those discarded cards into value, and eventually overwhelm the table with creatures and damage. Most of the cards in this deck are creatures with cycling, like Drannith Rex, Greater Sandworm, and Striped Riverwinder. Most of the time we're not planning on even casting these cards, as they are not worth the mana. Instead, we use them as quick draw spells to get us into the rest of our engine faster. Our commander is essentially another draw engine. Instead of just discarding the cards and drawing replacements with the cycling, we're progressing our board state by cheating out other cards simultaneously. Cycling cards are nice, but the real power of this deck comes from the payoff cards. One of the biggest ones is Drakehaven. Every time we cycle a card, we can pay 1 mana to create a 2/2 flying Drake. So suddenly, those discarded cards start turning into a suite of flying creatures that can start freely attacking our opponents. Another fantastic payoff is Valiant Rescuer. Whenever we cycle a card for the first time each turn, we get a soldier token, further enforcing a larger board state. Alongside this, we also have cards like Drannith Healer, which gains us 1 life whenever we cycle a card. Slow life gain, but with the amount that we're about to be doing, it's essential that we keep it in the deck. And finally, Snare Tactician, which can tap down opposing creatures, making it easier for our creatures to get in for easier damage. So instead of just drawing cards, this deck takes advantage of every cycling trigger to start creating true value. Even though this is a budget deck, we are still able to play solid. Commander staples like Swords to Plowshares and Path to Exile allow us to have instant speed removal that is efficient and prevents us from dying. And we also have Counterspell to stop particularly dangerous spells, but it wouldn't be me if we weren't playing anything a little bit janky, so we have the cycling Counterspell Complicate in here as well. Because the deck cycles so much, we tend to see a lot of cards over the course of the game, which means we are more likely to find these answers exactly when we need them. So, how does this deck actually close out a game? The main win conditions come from turning all the value we've built up from cycling into a sudden, overwhelming board state. The best example of this is Herald of the Forgotten, which says, when it is cast, return all cards with cycling from our graveyard back to the battlefield. After an entire game of slowly accruing advantage, this card turns what is mostly an empty board state into a massive army which can be game ending. From all of our payoffs, we are generating massive amounts of tokens. As such, the most budget efficient game ender is Overwhelming Stampede, as due to the high power of creatures in our deck, we can turn all these small drakes and soldiers into game ending threats. What I really like about this deck is how accessible it is. Most of the cards here are things people already have sitting in bulk boxes. Cycling cards are everywhere, printed in almost every set, and as such, they cost almost nothing. But when you put them together with the right payoff cards, they create a really smooth engine that constantly keeps the game moving. So, if you enjoy commander decks that do something a little unusual, this cycling deck build with Ellie and Ellen, Paleontologist, is definitely worth trying. It turns a pile of overlooked cycling cards into a surprisingly fun and powerful strategy. And if you've got other suggestions for other commanders you'd like to see built on a budget, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching.